Now, where all of these roles become interesting is while they bring meaning and a way of connecting and connection between people, they also bring a lot of pressure. Hey y'all, welcome to the From Surviving to Thriving podcast. You know, the place where we take the veil off and we pull the curtains back on our everyday lives. I'm your host, Jackie. Today's episode is one that I think we can all relate to. It's going to talk about life roles. So all the different roles that we play in our life. Think about all the different hats that we wear on a daily basis. Maybe you're a caregiver or a sibling or a partner or a manager or a friend, and even all of those all at once. All of these roles shape our identity. It's how we show up in the world and how we connect with the people around us. And sometimes we lose sight of who we are based on all the different roles and labels and titles that are attached to us. So today, we're going to unpack each of the roles that we play in life, how they impact us, and how we can navigate them in a way that feels balanced, meaningful, and ultimately fulfilling. So whether you're trying to balance being a supportive friend, a loving partner, or a dedicated professional, this episode is for you. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So let's talk about what I mean by life roles. These are the different responsibilities, positions, identities that we take on in our personal and professional life. For example, you may be a daughter or a son. You may be a partner in a romantic relationship. You may be a manager at work, a caregiver to one of your loved ones, or the friend that everyone turns to when they need advice and support. Now, all of these roles come with their own set of expectations, challenges, and rewards. The good thing and also the bad thing is that these roles never stay the same. These roles tend to change based on the stage of life that we're in. For example, someone at work might start off as the mentee, but in the future, they end up being the manager, the leader, or a mentor to someone else. Now, where all of these roles become interesting is while they bring meaning and a way of connecting and connection between people, they also bring a lot of pressure. We often tend to feel like we have to perform well in all of the roles that we're in, or it could end up leaving us feeling as if we're stretched too thin, we're overwhelmed, and even worse, it can lead to burnout. So today, I want to talk about some of the most common roles that we play and how they show up in our life. Before I jump into each of the different roles that we play, I want to just recap how all of this came about for me. So last year, when I was going through therapy, one of the assignments that my therapist gave me to do was to sit down and think about all the different roles that I play in life. So to anyone or everyone around me, think about what my role in their life is. And she asked me to draw a diagram. It was a circle, and I had to divide it up into kind of like a pie chart, just to give a good example. I had to divide it out based on what percentage of my time I give to that role. So the point of the exercise, which I didn't realize at the time, was to figure out where on this pie chart do I fit myself in? And of course, if you guys remember, or if you've seen the previous episodes, you know that last year I was dealing with burnout. And the reason I was dealing with burnout was because I was playing the roles, and at the same time, I wasn't really taking care of myself. I wasn't putting myself first. I wasn't focusing on my own well-being because I was focused on all these other roles that I was playing in my life every day. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the caregiver. So whether you're caring for children, your elderly parent, or even a friend that's going through a tough situation, caregiving is one of the most rewarding, but at the same time, exhausting role that we play. And in my situation, I realized that more than half of my pie chart was occupied by the caregiver role. So as a caregiver, you're constantly given of your time, your energy, your love, care, all of that. The biggest challenge with being a caregiver is that it leads to burnout because you're so focused on taking care of everyone else. You forget to take care of yourself. You put all of your needs on the back burner and you address the things that everyone else is asking you for. So the friend that's reaching out for advice or just an ear to listen, or the sibling that's dealing with an issue that your parent pissed them off about, or your teammate that is having some issues and you feel the need to support them in it. All of those things garner your attention, so it takes the focus off of you and the things that are important to you and you taking care of yourself, and you're now focused on everyone else, what their needs are, and making sure that you're meeting those needs. The beauty in being a caregiver, though, is the fact that it helps you create strong bonds with others, mainly because there's no greater feeling than being able to help someone in their time of need. And when you are able to help someone, that level of commitment that you show, that level of care that you show, is repaid by a deeper connection that you build with that person. So overall, caregivers provide that physical and that emotional support that is so needed, but they can also feel overwhelmed and burnt out if they're not conscious of taking care of themselves while balancing being a caregiver. When it comes to the roles that we play in our families, these can get a little bit tricky just because it comes with a lot of history. We've grown up with these people. They've known us our entire lives. So a lot of the times there are what I would consider to be unspoken expectations. You just know that that's your big brother and that's your big sister, and there are roles that are typical for that. You know that your big sister is supposed to teach you certain things, or you know that your big brother is supposed to stand up for you and be the protector sometimes. So those unspoken expectations put a lot of pressure on family members. The biggest challenge with family member roles is that it's hard to balance those obligations while still maintaining those boundaries that you've set for yourself and enjoying your own independence from them. But on the flip side of that, family roles often gives us the sense of belonging to something and just having those connections that you can't really replicate. Now, when it comes to the friend role means that you're showing up for the people that you care about. Whether that means you are being supportive, you're being the shoulder to cry on, or you're celebrating their big wins in life. But friendships also come with those same challenges that the other roles do. I'm sure at one point or another in our friendships, we may feel like we're the friend that's carrying the friendship, as in we're putting in more than we're getting out of a friendship. Or you may feel like you've set boundaries for your friend and they're not sticking to it. I think those are the toughest times when friendships struggle. Because yes, a friendship is a two-way street. No one wants to feel like they're doing the heavy lifting in their friendships. You want to have a friend that you know just as much as they can count on you, you can count on them. And when that feels uneven, that tends to lead to a rocky friendship or one that is bound to end. However, when friendships are balanced and you know you have the support that you're given, those are some of the best relationships and roles that we play in life. Now, romantic relationships is also one of the big roles that many of us play. Being a partner means that we're able to balance our intimacy, communication, being vulnerable, all while still being able to maintain who we are individually. So, what's the challenge when it comes to the partner role? Well, relationships require growth and constant effort. It's so easy for us to fall into the role where we're neglecting our own needs in order to cater to our partner's needs. Or there are times when we're neglecting our partner's needs altogether. However, when both people are invested in the relationship, being in a romantic partnership is one of the most rewarding roles that we play in life. And finally, the professional role. Whether you are an employee, a manager, or an entrepreneur, your professional role takes up a big chunk of your time and your energy. On my pie chart, my professional life was the second largest chunk of the roles that I play. The most challenging part of our professional role is learning how to balance, especially if you are someone that values your job or your career, you take your role seriously, or you tie your self-worth to what you achieve in your role. The good thing is that our professional role gives us a sense of purpose, financial stability, and just a way to overall contribute to society. As long as we're able to balance our work and our life demands, having a professional role can be very fulfilling. Let's take a look at how we can balance the roles that we play. So one of the main things that we need to do is let's recognize how these roles can overlap. For example, you may be a caregiver and also a professional, or you may be a professional and a partner. Yeah, that sounds pretty simple, and a lot of us play all of these roles every day, but acknowledging the overlap between these roles will help us to understand when they start to conflict with each other. There are times when we will need to prioritize one over the other. And how do we go about doing that? An example of this would be you are a caregiver and you're also a professional. So whether you're caring for a parent or a child, for example, you have a professional job and during the day you go to work and you're focused on all the things that you have to do at work. So you're going to your meetings, you're addressing your team, you're dealing with all work-related items. But then as soon as the day ends, you take that cap off and now you are a caregiver. So now you have to go home, you have to take care of that parent or that child, you're preparing meals, you're putting them to bed, you're taking care of their care, anything that's related to that child or that parent. The rewarding part of those roles is not only are you taking care of them financially by being a professional, you're also a caregiver, so you're taking care of all of their personal needs. Balancing these two roles will give you that rewarding feeling of knowing that not only are you contributing to their well-being financially, you're also taking care of their emotional needs as well. While these roles are rewarding, they can also be challenging as well. There are times when you may feel like you don't have the ability to give your caregiving role the attention it needs, and also your professional role the attention that it needs. There will be times where your professional life might restrict you from being able to perform some of the duties that you need to as a caregiver. And there are times where the stresses of being a caregiver might show up in your professional life. These challenges can show up as there's a day where you may need to miss a meeting at work because you have to take your child to the doctor. Or there's a time where you may have to miss an appointment with your parent because you have to tend to something at work. These types of situations tend to lead to you having a sense of guilt because you're not able to provide the attention that is needed for both of those roles without sacrificing for the other. An example of the partner in the professional role would be someone who has a really good career and also is involved in a loving relationship. There are times where work may be demanded when it comes to your time, or you may need to travel, while at the same time, your partner needs that attention and time and emotional connection. Both of these roles are fulfilling when they are operating the way that they should. Your job is fulfilling because it's allowing you to grow and develop and gives you a sense of independence, while your relationship allows you to have companionship and love and a deep connection. Having success in either of these roles can push you to do better in the other. If you have a supportive partner, they may push you to want more and do more in your career. And when you're doing well in your career, that may push you to push for your relationship because you feel like you're attaining a level of success that you can transform into a successful relationship as well. The biggest challenge with the partner and professional roles is that when one starts to get more attention, then it starts to create conflict or a sense of neglect in the other. Balance in a relationship with work is definitely a juggling act. It takes a lot of understanding and balance in order to be successful with both. The next thing to consider when balancing the roles that we play is the danger of role overload. What is role overload? Role overload is when we're taking on more responsibilities than we can actually manage. It's when we've piled so many things onto our plate that the littlest thing that we add to it feels overwhelming. For example, imagine that you are working on a project that has a deadline that is coming up soon. At the same time, while you're at work, you're worried about spending time with your children because they've been asking all week when you guys can spend time together. On top of that, maybe you're the friend that everyone turns to when they have an issue. And it just so happened that your best friend is dealing with some issues in her relationship. And on top of that, you're in the middle of planning your 40th birthday party. So at first, all of these things individually may seem pretty manageable and somewhat satisfying that you can take on all these roles and juggle them and manage them. But over time, with all the demands that are coming from the party planner, your best friend, your boss, your coworker, your children, over time, that demand on your time, your energy, your emotional capacity, all of those things are going to start to wear you down. The first thing you'll probably start to feel is a bit of stress. And the reason being, you're being pulled in so many different directions, it's hard to get anything done. It will cause you to start to rush through things. You might start forgetting to do certain things, and you might start to feel like you're not accomplishing the things that you've set out to do. So you're failing at either one or two or three of these things or all of them. And if this stress continues to build without any give from either of these roles that you're playing, over time, that stress is going to turn into burnout. And burnout is more than just being tired. Burnout will make you feel like you have no sense of motivation, or you don't even care about the role that you're playing anymore. And ultimately, you might start to feel like you're emotionally drained and you don't have any more to give. I'm speaking from experience because I felt what it was like to be burned out last year. And you get to a point where you basically say, F everything. You don't care about work, you don't care about family, you don't care about the friendship, you don't care about anything because you've given so much of yourself, that you've added so much stress onto yourself that you don't know what to do anymore other than to just say, F it, take a step back and focus on how to get out of burnout. Once you get to burnout, you'll realize that it not only affects your mental health, it affects your physical health. For some people, it can show up as anxiety, depression, and even create chronic health issues for them. As bad as burnout is, the other part of role overload is resentment. When you're constantly overloading yourself with different responsibilities from the roles that you've added to yourself, it's easy to start to feel a sense of resentment. You start to feel like people are not appreciative of the things that you do, or simply that they're just taking you for granted. You might start resenting your workplace because they're demanding way too much of your time. They're putting so much on your plate without taking into consideration that you have a family and you have a life outside of work. You may start resenting your family for not being appreciative of all the things that you sacrifice just so you can be present and just so you can provide for them. And ultimately, you may start to resent yourself for putting yourself in these roles. So the question really is, how do you balance overload before it gets to burnout or the resentment stage? The key to all of this is to make sure that you're setting boundaries and you're prioritizing what is truly important to you. So the first thing you need to do is really take a step back and figure out what are all the roles that you're playing. And for me, that was what my therapist had me do. She asked me to take a step back from the stage that I was in, which happened to be burnout, and to analyze all the roles that I was playing. And after creating that pie chart, we had a conversation about what each of those slices of the pie looked like, why I was giving so much attention to that slice of the pie, and ultimately, why I did not put my own self on my pie chart. So a question to ask yourself is, which one of these roles are essential? Which ones can I delegate to others or even remove altogether? The next thing you need to do is communicate with the people that are in your life. Let them know how you're feeling, when you're overwhelmed, and when you need help. Sometimes that might look like asking for more assistance at home, or setting limits to when you're online for work and when you're offline, and even letting your friend know, hey, I need to step back from this relationship because I currently don't have the emotional capacity to deal with it right now. The point is to be honest about what it is that you can take on and what it is that you can't. The most important part of all of that is to make sure that you're making your self-care a priority. You cannot, and I know we've heard this a lot, you cannot pour from an empty cup. If your cup does not have anything in it, how are you supposed to share with someone else? Taking the time that you need to recharge, recuperate, and focus on your well-being is not being selfish. That's the only way you're going to be able to show up for the roles that are actually priority to you. Finally, let's look at how we can find fulfillment in the roles that we play. The first thing that we can do is align our roles with our purpose. When our roles reflect what we care about, they become more than just responsibilities. So for example, whether our role is to help other people or to take care of someone or to build positive relationships, those become a source of purpose for us instead of looking at them as just responsibilities. Sometimes we do find ourselves in roles that don't really fit us anymore. or don't feel right anymore. Sometimes it's because we're taking on a role because of a sense of guilt or obligation that we may feel to someone, or we could just be holding on to something that no longer suits our long-term goal. Maybe it suited us when we first started, and since our goals have evolved, that role itself also should evolve. Letting go of those roles that no longer fit what it is that we're trying to accomplish is not a failure. It's basically just letting go of something else so that you can take on something that actually is going to bring you closer to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Something that you can ask yourself is, what role adds value to my life? And then which ones feel like I'm kind of forcing them to fit? Once you've identified which roles bring you joy and help you fulfill your purpose, that will allow you to get a better sense of fulfillment from the roles that you're doing. The next thing we're going to look at is shifting our roles over time. It's definitely a natural thing for our roles to just evolve over time. I mean, think about it. The roles that you used to play 5 years ago are not the same roles that you're playing right now. Maybe you've taken on a leadership role at work. Maybe you've had a child and now you're a parent, or you've had to take on the care of one of your elderly parents. Sometimes these transitions are challenging, but they're also areas for us to grow as people. So instead of resisting these changes, it's a lot better to take them on and approach them with a level of curiosity and enthusiasm. Acknowledging and embracing the shifts in these roles will allow us to be able to move on a lot more confidently. And the last thing we should do when it comes to finding fulfillment in our roles is to celebrate our small wins. I know I mentioned this in several of these episodes, but we must celebrate the small wins in every role that we play. Life is already overwhelming enough. It's easy to just focus on the big milestones or to just beat ourselves up when things are not done perfectly or on time according to what we consider to be on time. The thing that we should remember, though, is that fulfillment comes from doing the best that we can, no matter how small it is. It is not from doing everything perfectly. We're not perfect. We're all humans. We mess up. We make mistakes. Take a moment to acknowledge the effort that you put into each of those roles that you play, regardless if they're perfect or not. Even those small, little, tiny wins should be celebrated. As I wrap today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect. We all play so many different roles in our lives, and every single one of those roles adds something unique to who we are as a person. Whether that is a caregiver, a friend, a sibling, a partner, a professional. All of these roles allow us to connect with others and grow into the best versions of ourselves. While all of these roles are important to play, they should not define us completely. Remember, you're not just a role that you play in someone's life. You're a whole person, and your worth goes beyond whatever it is that you're doing for others. Take time to celebrate the impact that you have in each of the roles that you're playing. But most importantly, don't forget to nurture yourself in this whole process. If this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. What roles are you playing in your life right now? And how are you able to balance them? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If it really made an impact, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating. Until next time, take care of yourself and embrace every role with love and intention. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.